our LSU. Boom!
All night long. Yes.
Let's freaking go! Today is a great day to be an LSU Tiger fan. I'm going to tell you why. Tomorrow is signing day. So I'm going to be honest with you. It is going to be boring, and that is a good thing because LSU will not have any of their players, cross fingers, actually flip to another school. And obviously, before the dead period began, a lot of LSU players that were committed, none of them really visited anywhere else. So tomorrow is going to be an awesome day. It's also an awesome day because LSU got two experienced players back at practice. Sage Ryan decides to come back. He may not have ever actually officially entered the transfer portal, but I've said what I said about Sage Ryan. He wasn't really that great last year. Yes, he did improve some, but he's really going to have to prove it to be a starter next year. So good for Sage, I guess, but there is a lot to be desired for his year 4 development, and it's going to come down to what position they actually want him to play. At practice today, it was Ashton Stamps, Javian Toviano as first-team corners. Of course, Mekhi Wingo is back at practice. Good to see him back healthy. I think he should come back next season. Obviously, a very selfish decision by me because we need to get our defense back to where it needs to be. But Mekhi Wingo would be abso-freaking-lutely huge, okay? So really excited about that. Coming up, we also got some AJ Swan film study that we're going to do today. I started breaking down his tape, started seeing a lot of big-time throws, also saw a lot of mistakes, things that need to get cleaned up. Well, guess what? There was another LSU transfer quarterback that came in with bad interception problems, and guess what freaking happened? He ended up winning the Heisman Trophy. So the likelihood that he ends up being a big-time player is very likely. If you actually look at the history of transfer portal quarterbacks, he might not be as good as Keaton or Joe, but I think AJ Swan has a chance to beat out Garrett Nussmeier. I really do think so, but I think that chance is unlikely. Then we get to that topic, Garrett Nussmeier. This was his first full practice as a full-time starter for LSU. He's going to get all 15 practices, all 15 first-time reps, and Jay Daniels will be around to help mentor him. That's obviously really cool as well. I think Garrett Nussmeier is going to be the guy. I really do think so. I think it's going to take a lot for AJ Swan to come in and beat him out. And this bowl game versus Wisconsin is going to it's crazy, absolutely crazy. So get here. I don't know what's happening with this, right? It looks as if everything on my end is good, but hopefully you guys can hear me okay. That's the big thing here. I don't know what's happening with the internet. I have everything shut off outside of this, so I might need to upgrade there. At least I know it wasn't me that actually made the mistake. So type Y for yes, pin for no if you can hear me loud and clear. So we'll get to some AJ Swan film study here in just a second. We say hi to Dex Tyler, who's going through right now. I'm with you here, brother. Chance, Danny Girl, Blaine, a lot of PHL legends. But yeah, if I do get 100 super chats, 100 in super chats, I'm going to give out this Malik Nabers card, and I'm going to call my internet company because this is unacceptable. I literally checked everything. I even called people that I know that are with the streaming company that I use. I don't know what's happening. I really don't. Okay, so I'm fuzzy, but as long as you can hear me okay, that is that's fine. Okay. Dan says he likes the comment. I hate it because I actually had to go to a Christmas party a little bit earlier, and I'm wearing my Buddy the Elf sweater. Bye, buddy. I hope you find your dad. That is an all-time movie scene. So there you go. Also, something else. is I'm going to need to upgrade everything. I'm getting ready to purchase a lot of new equipment because I want to take this studio and what we're doing to the next level, because this was one of the best you've ever had, not only on PHL, but on the SEC channel. So we're still growing, and it's pretty crazy. But I don't care about that. I care about the now. Let me start by saying this, all right? This is going to be a really good week for LSU. I understand, all right? I get it that Ole Miss has been the flashiest program, and right behind Ole Miss has been Missouri. But sometimes in life, no news is good news. And the quietest program in the SEC when it comes to transfers been LSU. Yes, today, LSU lost a really good depth piece in Marlon Martinez. That stunk. Okay, Marlon Martinez is a really freaking good football player. I really do think he could be an SEC starter, all right? But what I would also say about that is our offensive line is so good that he can't find his way on the field. And his eligibility is running up, and he wants to get somewhere where he can play, and I totally understand it. But Marlon Martinez can play. That is a good thing that offensive linemen that have athleticism, have good movement skills, have good strength, they have to go elsewhere. They can't play on LSU's offensive line right now. That was a hard thing for me to overcome because I do think Marlon Martinez is a good SEC level guard. He had to be the backup center this year, and he had one really rough game snap of the football on the road versus Missouri. He was a mostly good offensive guard. That is the only key player. That is even stretching the word key that LSU has lost in the portal. USC has been rated. Oklahoma has been rated. South Carolina has been rated. Arkansas has been rated. Okay. We have it pretty good when it comes to losing players. Now, the next step is getting more assets into our program. Yes, AJ Swann's a good piece. Yes, Xavier Thomas is a really good piece. Yes, Jordan Gilbert has some ability, and it does seem like there are some Texas A&M media that wanted to throw some shots towards Jordan Gilbert, which I don't really get. I'm really freaking excited about our class. I really am. But it is time for us to take it to the next level and get some more bona fide difference makers via the portal. Okay. We can't have Ole Miss pulling Florida States on us, right? And them getting the best of the best out of the portal. That lends us to one of the sexiest names that has entered the transfer portal just yet. And that is Evan Stewart. Okay. He enters the portal, and I set off a little bit of a firestorm. I tweeted out a photo of Garrett Nussmeier and Evan Stewart. They have a relationship. They threw with each other while they were in high school. Evan Stewart is one of Texas A&M's best receivers, and he skipped out on the LSU game. He just left the team, and he's been in the portal since then. Okay. Now, I understand that there are quite a few of you that don't want to go down the Texas A&M 5-star route, because obviously the last transfer that came in from Texas A&M, Evan Stewart, or excuse me, Denver Harris, it didn't work out well. It was actually a disaster. Is there a chance of that happening again? Yes, because 5 stars, some of them have egos, right? But Evan Stewart has a relationship with Garrett Nussmeier, and we need playmakers on the outside. All right. So, look, I understand that there are quite a few of you that are listening to me right now saying, well, Carter, look, we don't need offensive players. We need defensive players. And I get that loud and clear. I agree with you. A wide receiver is lower on the totem pole when it comes to guys that we need to bring in for right now. And I don't think Evan Stewart is necessarily a must get. But I would say with Garrett Nussmeier being there and knowing this guy, I am open to him coming in and being a part of this program. I am. And I understand that that's not everyone's favorite thing to hear. I understand that Brian Kelly is, if there is some communication open between LSU and Texas A&M, I get Brian Kelly the need for him to look in to if this would actually be something worth chasing. Okay, so Evan Stewart is the first name that I wanted to talk about. Next one I wanted to bring up is Tackett Curtis. I see Tony the Tigers mentioned his name. This is, for those that don't know, a Louisiana native from Manny. Okay, he's got two really good friends joining this team next year. Okay, both of which were his high school teammates. Joseph Big Hoss Cryer and Tylen Singleton. Okay, Tackett Curtis's recruitment was never really involved with LSU. He did take visits to LSU. It's not that Brian Kelly and his staff did not try to make it work. This was just one of those things that never was meant to be. So he goes to USC and he plays a lot game one. And this was a learning experience for him. You know, when Tackett Curtis was coming out of high school, I was very worried about his transition from high school do-it-all safety / linebacker to playing in an actual defensive structure. And look, I am open to Tackett Curtis. This is a guy with ridiculous athleticism, okay? I am open to him coming in and teaming up with Whit Weeks or Grant Penn or whoever it may be next year. We need linebackers, okay? Do I think we can do better than Tackett Curtis? I can. I do. So, look, I can tell you, LSU is doing their due diligence on Tackett Curtis, and that they're going to do whatever it takes to bring in really good players. Now, could there be some signing day fireworks? I said earlier that, well, it could be a boring day. All right. Could we get a signature from Dominic McKinley, or could this get pushed back to February? There's a lot of different things I'm hearing on that end. Could there be a situation where LSU brings in a pretty big time transfer portal defensive lineman? Sure. But it would be nice to get a high school guy in McKinley. Okay. The next thing, Terry Bussey, 5-star. Got a call earlier from someone that I trust with LSU knowledge. Okay. They're still doing the work on Terry Bussey. All right. I got a call earlier from, a big contributor of the channel. He said, "Hey, Carter, why don't we have any 5-stars committed?" And I'm like, we do. We just don't have them rated at 5-star. And one of those guys is Kaden Durham. But Terry Bussey, I feel pretty good about that in February. Hopefully it does happen. Okay. There is Eccles, the offensive lineman who LSU has done a lot of work on, Cohen Eccles. And there is a recruiting battle going on, and it would be nice to get another offensive lineman. But I get it. You guys want year one defensive ready transfers to come into LSU. And there are some players out there, I think, if it comes down to a money issue, they need to spend and make contact with, okay? There are some defensive players that I like a lot, okay? There are some names I could throw out there when I've seen their name enter the portal. I'm not smart enough to know what their interests are. A guy like an Andrew Makuba. Makuba might have committed. I don't know. Had a busy day. I've been really mostly focused in on AJ Swan. I'm telling you right now, man, Andrew Makuba can play. Andrew Makuba is a big-time safety that's in the portal right now, who LSU had ties to in his high school recruitment. There's a lot of guys that we can go get and make our defense better, but we've got to go get them. We just do. All right. So we'll see. We'll see. All right. Chance wants to talk some DJ Cheddar. We can get to that a little bit later. Yeah, Jared, I just showed the fit Good to see you. Quan wants to talk next year starting secondary. What's up, Chase? Good to see you. Now, next thing. All right. I want everyone to listen loud and clear when it comes to this point. All right. There is a pretty huge nugget that I shared on Patreon. And if you are a patron, you haven't seen it already, go to your Patreon account at the end of this live stream and read very closely, because there is something pretty big there, involving something, important when it comes to LSU's future. Okay. I do want to include one thing. All right. I don't want to get too carried away with this, because this happens sometimes when I do content, I do live streams, I talk about players that have connections to the channel or have been on the channel before. But I'm just going to let what happened over the weekend do the talking. Colin Hurley went off at this Army All-American weekend this past weekend. Now, the Army All-American game and all All-American games, okay, have kind of lost a little bit of thunder because of the portal and because of the college football calendar. I'm just telling you what happened over this weekend with and it wasn't necessarily the Army. I don't remember exactly which All-Star game it was, but Colin, reached out to me via DM, and I was very excited to see what I saw. All right. Colin Hurley has taken a stride forward. All right. He did something that I did not think was going to happen. All right. Which is take a massive leap this past year. I thought it would take a leap. Looks like he took a massive leap. So I'm really freaking excited about that. So shout out to Colin freaking Hurley. Okay. It's ridiculous. It's absolutely ridiculous. And the fact that this guy is very, 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 very young is crazy to me. Okay. So, yeah, I'm really freaking excited about the future of LSU football. And there you go. You can see the DMs right there. I want you to see that. There you go. It's a cool little photo right there. U.S. Army Ken Hall Most Valuable Player Award. Good stuff. Happy for Colin. Okay. He is buddies with Anthony Richardson. You are right about that. Now, next thing, okay? Take a look at the poll question here really quickly. Should signing day be moved back to the February Bayou Bash tradition? My old school viewers know all about the Bayou Bash. 66% of you say yes. 33% of you say no. Okay? Well, there you go. Now, I can take a few more questions, or we can go straight into the AJ Swan film stat. I was going to wait a little bit, but I always want to be open to questions. I always got a lot that I want to get to. Okay. Where did my notepad go? Oh, it's right here. It's under all this. Okay. See, we got AJ Swan, Garrett Nussmeier, SEC. Yeah, we'll talk about the rest of the SEC coming up. Apparently, Alabama is set to have a really big day tomorrow. Shocker. They got another 5-star from Texas A&M today as well. We're going to talk about all of that today. So, yeah, I want to get rid of early signing day. I want Bayou Bash to be back. And the Bayou Bash was something they held at the convention center in Baton Rouge. And I think it was always at the convention center. I only went one time. And every year it was massive, right? Just tables, people going crazy. And it made LSU a lot of money. Okay. I'm down. One of y'all wanted to bring back the big cat drills. Huh? I don't know about all that. Big cat drills. All right. Byron says I'm sounding like a robot. I really don't know. I'm definitely going to check all things because we're going to do a pretty big signing day recap show tomorrow night at 6 Central. So be on the lookout for that. Okay. So I'm going to show you this breakdown really quickly. AJ Swan film say, I think you guys are going to like what you're about to see. Let's go. Let's go. Let's chat some AJ Swan. Just a quick little look-see right here. This throw in particular, right, was a huge part of the LSU offense last year, and it's very difficult to complete these types of throws on a consistent basis, right? And the funny thing about it was LSU the year before this one, they tried these kind of slot-ish kind of fades over and over and over again, and it didn't work. But this year, the slot fade, you can argue, was LSU's best concept. So you'll see right here, Will Sheppard isn't in the slot per se, but he is. The splits here are really tight. What I like about this play in particular is the protection, okay? It doesn't have to be good. You can see right here the right guard gets beat really badly, as badly as he probably could have been beat. But because this is a quick, vertical, explosive pass play, you don't need great protection. Row also inherently shields DBs away from the football, right? It's kind of a Willie Mays over the top of the shoulder type of catch. So you see Swan steps into this throw and just perfect spiral. I mean, that thing is tight. And as you'll see, even if the DB had perfect coverage. So we get to here, and it's not quite apples to apples because obviously this is a 3 wide receiver set instead of a 2. But you'll notice that the protection here isn't the best. It's also not the worst. This twist stunt does kind of sort of get home, but because it's a quicker, deep passing pattern, Jaden's able to get this off. Once again, a perfectly tight spiral. And you'll see the coverage isn't bad, but if we throw it at a diagonal to where he can make an over-the-shoulder catch like that, it is truly an indefensible throw. So hopefully AJ Swan can do that, or Garrett Nussmeier, whoever is the starter. Let's go. Let's see here. All right, so we're going to try this. Hopefully I look a little bit better here. Let me see. I don't know what the heck happened with this. But let's get to it. So that's what I freaking love about AJ Swan. All right. The guy has thrown some big time throws at Vanderbilt. And I understand that there has been turnover issues with him. I totally get that. But I am fine with turnovers early in careers. I'm perfectly fine with it. Okay. I am also of the belief that turnovers aren't the worst thing, right? You've got to take chances. You've got to throw the football down the field, right? That was something that was holding us back over the past couple of years. So we really needed that. We really, really, really did. We decided to Frosty Ice 28, hyped to have Kyron Lacey back. You're so hyped, you changed your profile photo to Kyron Lacey. There you go. Yeah, but how important are those early months? You know, some would say they're very important. I could very much argue to the contrary. Okay, so there you go. First Bayou batch was at the field house on campus. I love it. Now, we'll do it again. Today, first $20 super chat. It's a BTJ card. Okay? We get to a hundo. We give out a Malik Nabers. I'll tell you this. There are some players for LSU that has gotten a lot of positive vibes per se over the past couple of weeks. Okay. One of those guys is PJ Woodard, was named High School Player of the Year in Mississippi. All right. So I think for me, I could see him playing a lot, potentially in year one. There is playing time to be had at the cornerback position, and he has a lot of experience playing corner. BB Causey is another 3-star coming in. And I understand. We can look at the rear view and say, well, we didn't keep Andre Evans. We didn't keep Kai Bates. I feel as if we're in a position that we have some guys committed that could come in and take us to the next level. All right. So let's see here. Michaela wants a big cat. No, you want some physical big cat drills back out there. Huh? Chef says Colin Hurley is a full-fledged DAWG. Okay. Now, the super chat is broken. That might be part of it. That's kind of sucky. Thanks, Google, for that. You can always Venmo Cash App at Card of the Power. Next thing I want to bring up, okay? I truly believe, and I want you to listen really closely here. I think Shelton Sampson's about to make a big leap. I really do think so. I think he will be a guy that catches at least 25 balls next year. That doesn't sound like a lot, but the truth is he very well could be the next in line. Actually, I'm not going to say he could be. I think he will be. Now, I don't know him. I don't. Right? I've not had the pleasure of meeting him. I've not had the pleasure of really getting to know anyone close to him. And if somebody does know him, I'm very lucky when I do talk about players that there are people close to Jaden Daniels that'll reach out to me, Garrett Nussmeier that'll reach out to me. And that's still pretty cool that those things have happened. But I would like to know about Shelton's dog mentality. Does he have that in him? That's one trait that a lot of LSU wide receivers had. They were alphas, right? I'm still going to pump him up. I am not going to back off, even though he barely played this season. We really only saw him in the Grambling game. I think there will be an explosion with Shelton Sampson's name all over it this next year. So pretty excited about that. We go to Jared Super Chat. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it, Jared, as always. Chance says 23 of the 27 commits are from Louisiana and Texas. Love that. Let me see if I can get to the 4 who aren't from there. What did we just talked about? Mississippi. Then there is Callaway from North Carolina. And then there's 2 more that I would have to just guess just right off the top of my head. You play with Shelton Sr.? It's pretty dope. I can't think of the other 2 right now. Let's see here, Roby. Let me know where you're sending it. Okay. Colin Hurley's one from Florida. Okay. And CJ Jackson, the edge player from the East Coast. So I love it. And we talked so much about Colin Hurley. I was like, I just drew a blank. But Colin Hurley's been in Louisiana so much on visits that you're like, God bless. You might as well say he's from here now. I did want to get to this. Okay. This was something that I brought up, and I'll talk about it some here. There is a concern amongst LSU fans that the next LSU starting quarterback, no matter who it'll either be Garrett Nussmeier or AJ Swan. A 95% chance it's going to be Garrett Nussmeier next season. Okay. Both of them can't really run. Mike Denbrock, for the last 5+ years, has had really good runners at the quarterback position. Is that something you should be worried about? And to a certain degree, yes. If you're used to calling an offense with someone that can run, and it does make your offense a little bit more multidimensional. The good thing about the situation at LSU is the offensive line is really good. And AJ Swan in particular showed some running ability. It doesn't have to be great running ability. It doesn't have to be awesome. It doesn't have to be. But he has some running ability. Okay? That's good enough for me. The occasional scramble here and there. You look at the UNLV tape, and I went through and I watched a good bit of the UNLV game earlier this year. He had some good runs. And I think Garrett Nussmeier will run more this next year. So it's not, for me, a be-all, end-all. It does take the zone read stuff out of your playbook to a certain extent, but I still think an offense can function, right? There's not many human beings out there that can run as fast as Jaden Daniels, period. Okay? So, there you go. Good. I'm glad you got it, Roby. Excited Pooh Bear. We're Jay Sean Ridgel fans on here, baby. Let's go. Next thing. Don't forget, 6 p.m. Central, we will be live chatting everything you need to know about the early signing day. All right? I am really, really, really happy about our offensive line recruiting. Okay? Weston Davis. That will end up being one of the most critical flips of this class. All right? I love that we were able to pick him up. Because when he committed to Texas A&M, LSU felt pretty good about it. And I did a podcast on this on Patreon, just to give you a little background. I've been doing more podcast audio kind of things for patrons only. And Jaden Daniels, of course, increased his stock more than anyone else. But I did a podcast recently on who, coming back next year, increased their stock and their favorability in that LSU room. And not a single person has grown as a coach, as a recruiter, and as someone who people love inside the LSU facilities as Brad Davis. Okay? You've got to think about Brad's situation from when he got to LSU to where he is now. Brad Davis from Baton Rouge leaves his mentor at Arkansas. He was a big reason why he was where he was in the first place. Leaves Sam Pittman, goes to an SEC West rival. And, you know, first year it took a while to get this offensive line built. Had to, you know, fuse some pieces together, and eventually we got our bookend tackles right. And then this year, the middle of our offensive line started playing way better. And a lot of that's Brad, a lot of that's Brian Kelly, a lot of that is Denbrock, and honestly, a lot of it is Jaden. But the truth is, our offensive line was really freaking good this year. And the middle of our offensive line played a lot better than what it did the year before. The entire offensive line took a step forward. And now he has a chance to field the best offensive line ever at LSU. A really good chance next season that this will be one of the best offensive lines to ever lace up their cleats in Tiger Stadium. It's going to be awesome. And then Brad gets this Weston Davis flip, and he gets Ethan Callaway to commit. He's got Joseph Big Hoss Grier, and he's got Kari Lee, and he could be getting another flip coming up. I cannot tell you how crazy it was for him to be the lone holdover coach from the previous staff to where we are now. Okay? Brad Davis, first job under Brian Kelly, technically was being the head coach of a bowl game with 39 players and a wide receiver playing quarterback. Okay? The guy has been sin-freaking-sational. So shout out to Brad Davis. It's not been easy doing what he needed to do to get the team to where they needed to get to where they are right now. Okay? Lots of positive vibes. Okay. Byron with the super chat. He wants to talk about the zone read game. I think we'll run a bit more up-tempo to get the ball faster for Nuss. What do I think? I love it, Byron. Yeah, I think as far as Garrett Nussmeier is concerned, yeah, you could lose a good bit of your zone read runs, and that is a big part of what we do. But also, LSU, I think, will revert back to something that they did a lot of in Jaden's first season, which is just inside zone, right? That is always been, a big staple of Brian Kelly coach teams, which is just a very, simply put, a run up the middle, okay? We haven't been the best counter run team, but that's not really who we are, okay? I think we will continue to do a lot of pre-snap motion. We were amongst the nation's leaders in pre-snap motion, but I also think Garrett Nussmeier is going to have some rough performances, right? That it's bound to happen. But I go back to this, all right? And I said this last night on Blake's show, and I'll say it again here. Nobody, and I mean nobody, as we say hi to North Face Norman on Twitter. What's up, man? I'm going to shout you out, buddy. Nobody has gained more in the past 72 hours than Garrett Nussmeier. Okay? Let's just run through it. I'm going to go a little bit deeper than when I chatted with Blake yesterday. Okay, Garrett Nussmeier, he feels pretty good he's going to be the starter next year. There were some other quarterbacks that LSU wanted in the portal. MJ Morris, NC State, Joe Sloan made the trip up there to meet with them in his apartment. Okay? Garrett Nussmeier could have seen MJ Morris come in, and he is someone that can run a little. But LSU gets AJ Swan, all right, who does have Garrett Nussmeier beat when it comes to playing experience. But in terms of age, he doesn't have Garrett Nussmeier beat. In terms of experience in Mike Denbrock's system, he doesn't have him beat. And in terms of ability, I would say Garrett has the slight advantage over AJ Swan. Slight. I think Swan can play. I really do. But he had some bad games last year. He really did. But AJ Swan can't run. That is one thing Garrett really can't do. So LSU got a quarterback who doesn't do the thing that Garrett Nussmeier doesn't do, right? Then you take a look at what has happened with some of the teams that LSU plays next season. Sure, Ole Miss has gotten better, and Ole Miss is the talk of the town. But if you actually go through and you look at LSU's schedule, I keep seeing people say, well, LSU's schedule next season is going to be very hard. And it is going to be very hard. I am not downgrading the difficulty of LSU having to play one extra Power 5 team this year than they did, or next year than they did last year. But UCLA's got kind of a strange rebuild and this weird situation if Chip Kelly is going to be back or not. I think he will be now. USC is falling apart right now. I don't know a lot of you or I don't know if any of you are keeping up with that. They lose their starter in the transfer portal. They're going portaling for a quarterback. Their defense still needs to get rebuilt. They take UCLA's defensive coordinator. Now UCLA's got to rebuild their defense, and USC's got to rebuild their defense. We play them both in the first month of the season, and we're going to have far more continuity than they will, okay? Then, if I were to go through, once again, if I were ranking all the best teams in the SEC right now, if I was ranking the top 5, we only played 2 of those top 5, if you ask me. Okay. Play Alabama and Ole Miss. A&M, rebuild. Arkansas, rebuild. Florida's a mess. South Carolina, a mess. They could be getting KJ Jefferson soon. That obviously makes them better, but they're still a mess. Things are going our way. Sure, we would like better players. And sure, this sounds like a lot of sunshine pumping, but we don't have to play Missouri next season. Okay, we saw how difficult of a game that was. We've seen what they've done in the portal. And this is something I knew was going to happen with Carter. Florida's got a great recruiting class coming in. Are you sure about that? Are you sure about that? Are you sure about Florida? They're losing their recruits. Florida's got the biggest sweat I've seen from an SEC recruiting class in a long time. From an elite class to them losing all their recruits in the next 72 hours. Okay? They no longer have that top 5 recruiting class. They've had a 5-star safety flip to Texas. They had a top 100 defensive lineman flip to Auburn, and they could be losing DJ or Derek Lagway, okay, who Colin Hurley knows pretty well. Man, when did they announce that award? But Byron was a really good super chat. I think Garrett's had a pretty good week in terms of things he couldn't control. Okay. That's a key thing. Florida had a great class, and it's still a good class. But, man, could get tough. Now, I talked about Garrett Nussmeier. Talked a good bit about AJ Swan, 12 touchdowns, 7 picks. Not too worried about the picks, even though some of them were bad. Some of them were also because he had really bad protection. Okay? Let's see here. There's something else that I mentioned on Twitter I wanted to get to. Jaden and Malik courtside at the Pelicans game tonight. Okay. This one I wanted to get into. Kind of a sad story. Raheem passed away. National championship. Defensive end. Raheem passed away. Chad Jones' brother. Son of the legendary Al Jones, Louisiana high school football coach. Really sad stuff. Don't know any details about it. And I would see Raheem a lot on campus. And he was a really good player for us. So RIP to him. And RIP to Chad Jones' family. Really, really, really sad stuff. Okay. And Mom says, I feel sorry for Napier. I don't. I can't technically really feel sorry for someone I don't know and also someone that coaches at Florida, right? Because they're a rival. Like, we compete for a lot of Florida recruits. So Jerwin says we need to be more aggressive in the portal. I agree. I think we can do better than just Jordan Gilbert, and I think we have to do better than just Jordan Gilbert. You know, this is something that concerns me as far as the Jordan Gilbert discussion. Okay, I do think they're going to try Sage Ryan out at safety next season. I also think they're going to hope Jordan Allen takes a leap forward. But if you really pay attention, yes, Greg Brooks being out very well could have cost us the Ole Miss game, right? That very unfortunate thing, and I still keep Greg in my thoughts. He was our leader. He was our captain on defense. We lost both our captains throughout the course of this season. That really stinks. But Greg was so key for us. He really was. What I would bring up, though, about Greg Brooks and all of that is Andre Sam was a lifesaver for us this season. Okay? Lifesaver. I really do mean that. And I understand that we will not think of Jamal Adams when we think of Andre Sam. We will not think of John Battle when it comes to Andre Sam. But he was a very solid player for us this year, and he will be for us in the bowl game. And I want you to think about Andre Sam, and I want you to think about Jaden Daniels as well. The only reason those two players, lifesavers for us, were able to play this year for LSU football is because of the COVID year, okay? Jaden Daniels was a year 5 player with 5 years of starts, okay? Andre Sam was a year 7 player, okay? So the reason why I wanted to talk about Andre Sam in this 46 minute portion, because what I've learned through YouTube analytics is you don't want to talk about the past. Andre Sam's played this season. He's going to go to the NFL and hopefully stay on a roster. We should be really thanking this guy. And also, we need to look at those two players in particular as miracles, right? They should not have been here. Imagine what our season looks like without those two players. It's terrible. Okay? It's a really bad season. Probably not going to a bowl game if we don't have those two players. Okay? So, why do I bring that up? That shouldn't be LSU football, y'all. It shouldn't be that. It shouldn't be transfers with bonus years of eligibility saving our rear ends. Okay? We've got to do better at developing. We got to do better at recruiting. We got to do better getting good young players from the transfer portal that can give us multiple years of production, good young players out of high school that can give us multiple years of production. College football is built on depth. That's just how it works, right? No one player makes a team in college football. You look historically, there are so many teams that won national championships the year after Pro Football Hall of Famers leave the team. LSU has had that happen a few times now, right? Tennessee had that happen with the best player to ever play at their school. It's a numbers game. And Brian Kelly warned us before this season even began that depth is something that we aren't there yet when it comes to that very key component to a program. All right? We've got to get this depth built. We've got to find guys that really can freaking play. That when we put them in, don't have to worry about a drop-off. And depth is harder now than ever because of the transfer portal. We got to do a better job of that. And that's a good thing about getting high school players, right? Is they're younger. This is a good point here from Jerwin. And Jerwin, I really appreciate all your support, man. And by the way, speaking of support, don't forget, PowerHourLSU.com/shop. Repeat, PowerHourLSU.com/shop. Everything is marked down in the store. Support your boy this holiday season. T-shirts, tumblers, swag mugs, hoodies, posters, long sleeve shirts. PowerLSU.com/shop. Oh, don't tell me that, Todd. Not while I'm live. Oh, God. Not while I'm live. Y'all don't come in here. You shouldn't even have told me that shit. God! Don't give me. I had all for tickets to that game. So I want to get to this question here from Jerwin. All right. What happened to LaTerrence Welsh? It's coming up. PHL Nation. Oh, yeah, baby. You know about Louisiana Controls. They've been showing us love throughout this college football season, and I'm looking for you to do the same when it comes to your energy management commercial HVAC needs. It is all with our buddies who have been doing this for over 40 years. Yes, that is 4 decades. You know this Louisiana weather gets crazy. Go to LouisianaControls.com or call 225-924-4990, baby. Let's go. So, what happened? It's a good question. The reason why I bring that up, not only because Jerome asked it, but it kind of goes along the lines of the depth thing, right? You know, he has that amazing play early in that Ole Miss game. And then after that first drive, his play just fell apart. Couldn't tackle, got lost, and then they just didn't ever really play him again, okay? They gave him the single-digit number and got the good game in the spring game. It just didn't work out. Why aren't these top 150 players taking that next step? Is it just injuries? Is it just a run of bad luck? Is it just them not taking their game to the next level? I don't know. Okay? I don't know. All right, we're not going to turn into a Pelicans chat because I didn't get to see the game. You guys know I'm a Pelicans super fan. Okay, Simper, good to see you. All right. Now, what I wanted to get to, all right, and the reason why I want to get to this is because it is something really near and dear to my heart. It's the rest of the SEC. Okay. Now, this is really cool. I want to make this announcement. The SEC channel did really well this past month. And I don't do live streams on there. I just do like film studies, occasional videos. I've done a few lives on there. And I'm going to start doing like live shows like this on the SEC channel. Okay. It's because of people like you. I really do appreciate everyone that supports me, even though it's not LSU stuff. All my LSU stuff will be on here. Okay. I really do appreciate all that. But I wanted to talk about the rest of the SEC. All right. And I had this tweet earlier today, and I really want you to think about what actually transpired this past year. Okay. I grew up thinking a little too much about the past, about my missed opportunities, not necessarily regrets per se, but just, dwelling too much on the past. Okay. I do want to show you this though, and why I think this is important to bring up. So if you really took a look at the SEC, in 2022, the SEC was very strong. All right. These were the schools in the SEC that exceeded or met expectations in 2022. I counted 6. Georgia far exceeded expectations. They went 15-0 and won the national championship. Tennessee, all right, had one of their best seasons ever. South Carolina, two of their best wins in program history in back-to-back weeks. LSU, of course, winning the SEC West in Brian Kelly's first year, going way over their win total set at 7. Mississippi State, a very impressive 8-4 with some really close losses mixed in there, and they won the Egg Bowl. And I included Alabama, even though they were under expectations, they were predicted to win the national championship. They lost 2 games by a total of 4 points, and they ended up being the number 5 team in the college football playoff. Okay, so 6 teams met or exceeded expectations in 2022, okay, out of 14. Now, you take a look at 2023, a different story. These were the only 4 schools that I felt met or exceeded expectations. Georgia, of course, expectations for them is going to the playoff and winning a national championship, but they only lost 1 game by 3 points. So I would say they met expectation or close to it. Missouri, way exceeded expectations. Alabama exceeded expectations. And Ole Miss, of course, exceeded expectations, going 10-2 and beating us. All right. I don't think this was a good year for the SEC. Now, would you say this year, am I being too hard on LSU? Am I being too hard on LSU, saying we did not live up to expectations? Well, our offense far exceeded expectations, and our defense far underperformed expectations. But I've got to be real. This year was a big missed opportunity for us. Now, a lot, of course, was a Florida State game. A lot of it, of course, was Alabama and Ole Miss. We beat a really good Missouri team. So the season was definitely not a disaster by any stretch of the imagination. But I would say we were under expectation. I would say that. Okay. Wasn't a bad year, though. It's a different thing. I don't think the SEC was that good this year. I really don't. Okay. Kentucky was very flawed. South Carolina was very flawed. A&M fell off. Tennessee fell off. Obviously, Florida crumbled. Arkansas crumbled. Vanderbilt crumbled. And I meant to include Vanderbilt in the exceeded expectation chart. All right. It's crazy. Absolutely crazy. And we talked about Colin Hurley a little bit earlier. Okay. Please no more Pelicans talk. All right. Yes. next level. We'll do some Pelicans chat a little bit later. I promise you. Now, I got to get out early for the early signing period. But here's what we're going to do. In the next 10 to 15 minutes, I'm going to answer as many questions as we possibly can. But if you super chat, we'll keep it going. Okay? Let's see here. If you got a signing day question, you let me know. Now, I was going to save this for tomorrow, but he's going to sign. I'm pretty excited about this. I am really freaking excited about Devon Keys. Okay. Freshman linebacker coming in from Aledo. Now, JoJo Earl was also from Aledo. Obviously, eventually went to Alabama. We also had a kid named Byron Allen who went to Aledo, went to Texas. And now we got Devon Keys, and he actually got to stick. All right. I really do believe Devon Keys has what it takes to be a very, very good linebacker at the SEC level. All right. Now, why do I single him out? Well, Debo Atkins is also a part of this class. He's from Louisiana. This needs to be a good linebacker crop. Now, could Christian Brathwaite be someone that takes a step in this next year? Sure. But we know Whit Weeks can play. We know he could start. And Whit Weeks and Greg Penn are likely going to be your starters next year. But there is playing time there. There is, right? I think LSU is going to give a good long hard look to see if they can, do something better with their current linebacker room. The reason why I want to highlight a high school linebacker is the portal linebackers for LSU have not worked out for whatever reason. And it's not like they just got some scrub linebackers. They got linebackers who were successful at their previous stops. All right. I am looking forward to Devon Keys. Watched his tape. One thing I like to see is, what do you do extraordinary? Keys made a lot of extraordinary plays, not only on defense, but on offense. Okay. Made great plays in pass coverage, made great plays blitzing, made great plays behind the line of scrimmage. They used him as a wildcat quarterback. They used him as someone that they just handed the football off to. And something else that does matter to me, okay, it's very low, and I mean very low on this list, but it is something. He's got this thing that Javian Toviano has, right, which is a great interview, okay? Now, that may not mean a lot, but I would like to think if you are affable in interviews and you have a personality, that more than likely is going to translate to a locker room, right? If Devon Keys is not even signed to play for LSU yet, I would be comfortable for him speaking on behalf of the team. I went and listened to some of his interviews. They're awesome. Kid's got $1 million smile. So I love that. I freaking do. So just be on the lookout for that. And I hope I'm pronouncing his name correctly. I listened to an interview. I think they said Devon Keys or Devon Keys. Whatever the case may be, the kid can play. The kid can play. All right. He grew on me. Something else, all right, is he dominated high school competition. All right. He's got some track and field background. Not an unbelievable burner per se, but just wanted to bring him up. Okay, we're going to talk more about him tomorrow night. All right. Really pumped up about this linebacker class. Playing time is there. If you want to play linebacker at LSU, guess what? There's playing time here. Okay? All right. I'm excited, y'all. I'm excited. Let's see. Michael Turner is fast. Speed kills. Do we have pure speed in this class for a return guy? I'll tell you this, Michael Turner is pretty big time. Oh, look, Chance said it right there. And Michael Turner, but he's not even the fastest receiver in this class. I think Jelani Watkins would be the fastest guy. The difference is Michael Turner's from Louisiana. So, you look historically, most of the best wide receivers at LSU, especially in this past decade, have been from Louisiana. Okay. And the last non-Louisiana wide receiver at LSU to catch north of 30 passes was Terrence Tolliver. Okay? So, North DeSoto High School. Yeah, they were pretty good this year. They beat down LSU West, which is Duncanville. Jelani Watkins, originally from Louisiana. But that also applies to high school wide receivers. So, apparently Texas A&M's main media person said some pretty crazy things about LSU tonight. I offered him to jump on the channel, okay? And he says he would be happy to chop it up about anything, but not before the signing day. Circle back for sure. Okay? Okay. I saw the clip beforehand. Saves Billy Lucci. I've met Billy a few times. Obviously, I got a big platform. It's not the biggest platform. Okay. I'm not Peter Burns here. But and Peter's a friend as well. He's obviously my favorite SEC commentator. And he's been on the channel before. I'm okay. Okay. Because I did have one of you send me this clip that he said he doesn't like Brian Kelly and he doesn't like LSU or whatever. I don't know, Sherry. I don't know. Some of it is in regards to this word called tampering. Okay. Now, I will say this about Billy Lucci, okay? I had dinner with him one time at SEC Media Days. Okay, we didn't go out to dinner, but we sat next to each other at, like a little media function or whatever. But he did agree to jump on my channel. Okay. Now, you guys know I'm not the biggest Twitter fight kind of guy. It's just not really my thing. Okay. But let me say this, and I want this to reach into the depths of your soul. I don't mind when people don't like my school that I root for. I don't mind it. But you've got to give me reasons. And what I think frustrates him is now that Jimbo's gone, you have to, and I know it's going to come off not too great for Texas A&M fans, you've got to understand that Jimbo Fisher is a legendary recruiter. Okay, it wasn't just all NIL that was getting Texas A&M players to Texas A&M, to College Station. Because, look, Jimbo Fisher, the recruiting at Florida State fell off when he left. And Texas A&M's recruiting got better when he got there. It's not just NIL. The guy's a really talented recruiter. Okay. Mike Elko, though, I mean, the buzz is kind of worn off a little bit, right? Elko wasn't the sexiest hire. And A&M's got themselves an interesting rebuild. And they also have a situation on their hands next year. All right. And look, I'm not one of those people that would have a guest on and shout him down. That's just not who I am, right? I'm always open to a debate. But here's what I think bothers him, okay? I'm not sure if LSU is what is crawling at Texas A&M right now. They should have a decent signing day, but obviously, you feel like you missed out on something special when you had all these very talented players as part of your school. Okay? What happens next year for Texas A&M? You tell me. All right. They play Texas. All right. And when do they play Texas? Well, they play them on Thanksgiving. Texas is going to be good again next season. Sibley knows this. They return their quarterback, Quinn Ewers. Yeah, they'll probably lose A.D. Mitchell, and they'll probably lose Xavier Worthy, but they're still going to be a really good football team next year. Okay? I'm going to be real with you. Texas is going to beat them down. I think Texas is going to be really good next year. I really do think so. All right. I think Jimbo Fisher has something going on with I say Jimbo Fisher. Steve Sarkisian, they got some good things going on. And I want to just show you Texas A&M schedules next year, because obviously Texas A&M is probably the school that we compete with the most for recruits now. Okay, Alabama is also, of course, another school, but really, honestly, A&M's been one of the biggest, right? Weston Davis, Dominic McKinley, there's been so many, all right? So this is their 2023 schedule. Let's take a look at their 2024 slate, and you'll see this does not set up well for them at all, right? Notre Dame, obviously, they've had some portal attrition, but they got themselves a pretty nice portal quarterback. The first month of the season is something that they can overcome, all right? But they do have this tricky game versus Missouri. They do have LSU on the schedule. They do have Texas at the end of the year, okay? Now, Mississippi State and South Carolina, that sets up pretty nicely for them. But if Jimbo really could have had this thing for one more year, this could have been a really nice schedule for them. I just don't really see light at the end of the tunnel for them. Okay? I really don't. I think this is going to be a tough year for them. Maybe I'm wrong. So, look, I'll have him on. I know he'd be a great guest. So, yeah, we say hi to TJ. You just missed Louisiana Controls. All right. I think Fritz going from Tulane to Houston's a pretty big deal for us. I think it could be a good thing for us. There we go. Now we'll take a few more before we skedaddle. Don't forget, 6 p.m. live stream signing day special. There's going to be a lot of competition. Big shout out to our super chatters tonight, Jared and Byron. Once again, first $20 super chat. We'll give out another BTJ card tonight. I got one going to Sibley. And if we get to a hundo, we'll give out a Malik Nabers card this lovely holiday season. So there you go. Now, I wanted to put some positive vibes out here. This is our current recruiting class ranking, okay? You could be like Arkansas. Arkansas just lost a recruit that they put a lot of freaking time into. And when I mean a lot of time, I mean a lot of freaking time. Okay. In their own state. It was Arkansas native. But right now, we are the 12th ranked recruiting class. You get McKinley, you get Terry Bussey in February. Guess what? You'll have a top 10 class. No 5 stars, but 4 top 100-ish. 5 if you want to stretch it to the top 130. This is your recruiting class. I feel like every single one of these kids is going to sign their signatures for LSU next year. This was a guy we spent a lot of time on tonight. Devon or Devon Keys. I need to get an updated pronunciation on that. If any of you know the correct pronunciation, let me know. But this will be a recruiting class next year. Obviously, the 3 transfers down here. Tell me right now in the chat, who is your sleeper? Who is the guy that you're on fire about? You see light at the end of the tunnel, but no one else does. Okay? And no one else is obviously hyperbole, but let me know. Is there a sleeper amongst us? Okay? Blue Buffalo got a little dog treat ad. Pronunciation. Chance, I think Chance is optimistically thinking, well, I hope it's a DB. SPF says PJ. I like that. James is going with Keys. I get it. James based in Texas. I like that. Vince Young's son. I've got to see him play in person. Let's go to Jordan here. Do we have footage of Nuss picking up tough yards with his legs in lieu of throwing it away or making a dangerous throw? Not a whole lot, but honestly, it's not necessarily a bad thing, if you ask me, because I want my quarterbacks throwing more than just bailing out early in their career. Put a more festive backdrop on here. Bang. There we go. Put a little. Look at that. Let's take a few more before bedtime. Sibley says LSU will not have 2 bad defensive years in a row. I hope you're right. This is what I would say about that, though, Sibs. Okay. Is that happened recently. 2020 and 2021 were 2 bad years in a row. And, yeah, I mean, my thing is this. Obviously, if Wingo's back, that's a dominant football player coming back. But, you know, you look at the Madhouse defenses, okay? The 2 years he had elite defenses. He had dudes in the trenches. He had a guy. He had consistent pass rush up front, and he had great play from his edge players. Now, Swinson had some moments. Gufu had some moments, but his 2 best seasons, Josh Allen, who is really good for the Jaguars now, and B.J. Ojolari, who has had an admirable seasons for the Cardinals. And then you had Harold Perkins flying off the edge off one of those in one of those seasons, right? What do we need to do to get back to that level where we have guys flying off the edge? TJ says LSU's defense will be good again one day, I think. It is weird, though. If you would have told me, college me, starting at KLSU, radio show on campus, if you would have told me, hey, Carter, you'll have your own YouTube channel. It'll be great. But the LSU football team will have 4 years of questionable defenses. But 4 years were 2 of the years. Well, actually, you stretch out 2019. That LSU would feature 2 of the best offenses college football has ever seen in a 5-year stretch. You'd have to slap me. Okay? But that's just how the game evolves. That's just how things evolve. And it's crazy we got to this point where we have seen more bad LSU defensive performances than good. 2020, we had 2 elite defensive performances, 8 not so great defensive performances. And in those 8, we had a few pick sixes and some big plays on defense, but not so great. 2021, more questionable defense, but really elite defense towards the end of the season. 2022, some really elite defensive performances, questionable performances at the end of the season. Then, obviously, this year, Mississippi State, great. Auburn, great. Florida, opportunistic spots. It's an issue. It's a major issue. Hopefully we see it again. Hopefully we witness this again. Hopefully we reach that level again. But sometimes it's just bad luck. Okay, sometimes it's and that's just how that happens, right? Sometimes you have Jeremy Hill to Darius Geis, or Jeremy Hill to Leonard Fournette to Darius Geis. Sometimes you have legendary runs like that at positions. Okay, you have Jamar Chase and Justin Jefferson in the same position group, and for so long LSU just had amazing defense after amazing defense after amazing defense. 2016 LSU defense. You put that defense with this past year's offense, and that defense lost 4 games. Well, or that team lost 4 games. But that's the thing. Got to put together an entire team. It's tough. It's really, really, really tough. Okay. Johnny. Man, I wouldn't be here today without Johnny 5. Man, dude, you bought, I think you bought like one of the first shirts. You bought book bands before anyone else. Man, I love it when I see you in here, man. Shout out to Johnny 5. We got a debate about the gun. Yeah, so there's some tough performances on that 2019 defense. Some tough ones. Okay. So Billy Lucci agreed to come on the show. Y'all remind me. I'll put him on here. We'll get into a debate. Why doesn't he like Brian Kelly? He must something must really be bothering him. Could it be that LSU shut down Johnny Manziel 2 years in a row? Could be. And Johnny Manziel and Billy Lucci are still friends. Okay. Scoot says, I really don't get the label of gunslinger for Nuss. He's not really played except down big and the game out of reach. Of course, here anyone is taking big chances with their throws in that situation. Okay. Yeah, I don't think being a gunslinger is bad. I really don't. In a way, it's good. I think one stat that is overrated is interceptions. I really do believe it. I have been radicalized to interceptions being overrated. And I'm not just doing this to cope with AJ Swan because he did have some bad picks, but I truly do feel this way. Okay. Does Josh Allen throw bad picks every now and then? Yes, but he's still one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL. There's no, you cannot debate that to the contrary. He has got to be in your top 10. Okay. He's a really good football player. I would take Josh Allen any day of the week over any quarterback not named Mahomes or Burrow right now. He throws picks. Okay. So freaking what? And he's still better than everybody else outside of those two guys. Dak threw a lot of picks, and everyone's like, "Oh, Dak threw a lot of bad picks last year." He's freaking incredible right now. All right. Now, pick sixes, of course, aren't overrated. Those are devastating, but interceptions are overrated. They really are. I'm not saying they're good. It's just there's so many things that go into an interception. Was it a drop pick? Was it a Hail Mary? What was the context of the situation? Did a receiver run the wrong route? There's so many different option routes now that, it could be just miscommunication. Okay. So clip it, share it with anyone. Interceptions are probably the most overrated quarterback stat. It's the one thing people freak out over. Okay. If I can get ROI off those picks with better vertical passing ability, guess what? I'll take it any day of the week. And honestly, if you were to run through everything where Jaden Daniels improved, there's only one area where he fell off. One area. And that is interceptions. Okay. And turnover worthy play percentage. Okay. It went down. But it actually went up. Right. His play would make you think that everything got better and his interceptions went down, but they actually did go up some. Turnover worthy play percentage did go up some. But that's a sign of Jaden growing. Guess what? Picks happen. You make bad decisions. One of the best routes LSU ran this year was a dig. Okay. I have an OC who always tells this to me when I talk to him. I don't know the research on this, but he said the most intercepted route in football is a dig. Okay. And what a dig basically is just depending on the play call, you run 10 yards upfield. Sometimes it's 7, sometimes it's deeper than that. And then you cut across the field at a 90-degree angle or perpendicular to the line of scrimmage. Okay. Digs get picked because safeties can bite down on it. If the receiver drops it, it can ricochet right into the hand of a safety. There could be a linebacker that sees it and picks it off. There are more ways for that pass to be picked. That's why Jaden avoided it for a good portion of his first season at LSU. But he threw more digs this year, and there were some intercepted ones. There was one versus Auburn. There's a turnover-worthy play on a dig versus Army. But guess what? Would you take this year's Jaden Daniels, or would you take the year before's Jaden Daniels? I don't think there's any debate with that. So his interceptions went up because his play got better. All right. Let's go to TJ. Which tight end, besides Mason, do you think steps up and takes the biggest leap forward next year? All right. It's a good question. Now, let's talk about tight end for a little bit. This was something that might have been brought up in a YouTube, just like an actual comment, that you guys feel Mason Taylor took a step back this year. I think he was pretty good. I do. I really do feel that way. Yes, the Alabama drop was colossal. Colossal. It was the biggest drop of the season. I still think he's a very good football player. Obviously, the next step is him being a little bit more dangerous after the catch, but that's not what the tight end is supposed to do. Okay, you need your receivers to break tackles after the catch, but that would be very nice. The answer I want to give to that, TJ, is Kamarion Pimpton, because I was really high on him coming out. You know, he was a track athlete. This is a guy that people feel really high about, you know, on the LSU team. And I think there was some growing pains with Kamarion Pimpton this past season. And the biggest growing pains was blocking. This was my major concern with him. He was mostly a receiver that played to the outside in high school, where he went up against high school defensive backs. So you go from mostly lining up to the outside against 5'10" Jimmy in front of you that is probably pledging Kappa Sig as a freshman this year or something like that. I don't know. And now you go from the outside to playing hand in the dirt, having to block adult defensive ends, some of which will play, you know, on Sundays. It was a tough year. It was a tough year, right? He had a pretty big holding penalty in the Missouri game that was very clearly holding on a goal line play. They started to work in some new tight ends and some 13 and 14 short yardage personnel sets. I felt the blocking was going to be an issue this year, going in to this year with Kamarion Pimpton. Everything else is there, though, right? The size, the catch radius, the track background, even though it's not necessarily running track, he does have a track and field background, which is normally a good sign of athleticism. That's who they're going to want. I thought Jackson McGohan was a very interesting player. He transfers to Wisconsin. I totally get it. Mac Markway has, you know, a chance to play. Connor Galbraith played a lot for us. I say a lot, but he did play some for us this year. But I do think Pimpton is still going to be the guy. Trey'Dez Green, though, I think had a better year this year with Zachary than Pimpton had last year with his high school. And Trey'Dez Green has a good chance to do some really good things at LSU, but it's kind of the same thing. He was mostly a guy that lined up out wide. How's he going to do as a blocker? It's hard. It's hard to block. And then it also depends on what LSU wants to do as an offense, right? You know, I think going into this year, TJ, and why the Super Chat is very important, is it had a good idea that Malik Nabers and Brian Thomas Jr. were going to be the guys, right? There was a lot of film and data that backed up that BTJ was going to be a really good player for them, a special player for them. And we did a film study showing like BTJ's numbers were actually way better than what they were from, you know, the years prior. But now going into this next year, they know Kyron Lacy is going to be a piece of what they're going to do. They have a good idea that Xavier Thomas is going to be a piece for what they're going to do. And Mason Taylor is going to be a piece. But you really don't know what that looks like. And something else that's very important with that is what made Malik Nabers so good, I'm so glad Brian Kelly shared this from a coach's perspective instead of just the typical, he clocks in, clocks out, good work ethic. Malik Nabers was such a smart football player. He knew how to play every single position on the field. There is no weakness in his game, at least at the collegiate level. Now, obviously, in the NFL, there's always something you can do better. And we're not going to have that, right? Normally, when you think of the word like Swiss Army knife, you're thinking of like a role player who can fill in here, fill in there. But Malik Nabers was the ultimate Swiss Army knife receiver at LSU. He could do every last little thing you want a receiver to do. You want him to block? He'll block. Want him to run a slant? He'll run a slant. Want him to run a go? He'll run a go. Want him to take a handoff or a sweep out of the backfield? He'll do that. He'll sell you popcorn at the gate. So, yeah, it's going to be interesting, TJ, who emerges, if anyone emerges. What if LSU says, look, most of our success has been in 11 personnel. Let's stick with Mason Taylor and build with 3 wide receivers. But what I will say is I feel with the way that the modern game is moving, you play more too high shell coverages or you see more too high shell coverages. If you can run offense out of 12 personnel, which are 2 tight end sets, and you have 2 tight ends that can legitimately block, you really scare defenses. You really do. There's just a lot more shit you can do. Okay? It's just that simple. You can double team edge players a lot easier. You can motion guys out a lot easier. You can have multiple lead blockers. You can really do it all. Okay? So I'm really, really freaking excited. And he's back. The Cheesesteak King. Doug, what's good? Brown, Sampson, Parker going to make that sophomore leap. Xavier coming in. Don't ever sleep on LSU wide receivers. Shelton and Lacey coming back. Aaron Anderson. Nuss is going to sling it in 2024. Doug, it's good to see you. Doug has always had the iconic photo here. Doug, I do think we need an update, though. I think Doug should change his photo to me and him. I would actually pay you, Doug, to do that. That would be pretty cool. We have a really, let me see. I think I still have it here. I had to delete a bunch because I was putting in a bunch of new videos. I might be able to dig it out of the archive. I do. Look at this. Should y'all vote Y for yes, in for no? Should Doug make this his new profile photo? Could my fat face fit in a profile avatar with Doug? Good to see you, man. So Doug says, Carter, look, don't ever sleep on LSU wide receivers. Somebody's going to make a leap. Somebody. I think this year, the leap really was Kyron Lacey. I understand statistically BTJ took a leap, and it is important to acknowledge it. It was also, for me, if you actually watched, somewhat predictable. His yards per route run did go way up this year, so he did take a leap. So 2 receivers took massive leaps. And Malik got way better than what he was even last year, but still, Malik was elite, legendary good his sophomore season and took it to another level this year. Xavier coming in, don't ever sleep on LSU wide receivers. I agree with that. I still think Shelton Sampson is going to be the best receiver of any of these names listed, and that includes Xavier Thomas. So you guys know how I feel about that. I am buying Shelton Sampson stock. I understand this year. Look at this, Doug. They're bullying you, man. Well, Doug, look, the Reaper is sending a threat here. But I get it. I got to meet Doug's beautiful wife and all his friends and family at one of our PHL meetups in New Orleans. Shout out to her. She had a absolutely fabulous sequined outfit. I remember that because my wife wears those same kind of clothes. She owns a boutique. But I agree. I think Shelton Sampson is going to get the mother freaking done. Okay. And once again, I'll go back to this. My initial grade on these players coming out was Shelton Sampson number 1, Kyle Parker number 2, Jalen Brown, Kai Prean tied for 3rd. That's how I saw it. But Jalen Brown has one trait that you can't teach, which is really elite speed. Okay. And when I say really elite, he's very fast. I'm not going to put him in the Kaden Durham territory, though, speed. I think Kaden will be one of the fastest players to ever play at LSU. And this is what's happened. And if you guys don't mind, I'll go on this. I was actually going to save it for tomorrow, but we'll go because of Doug's super chat. Let's see. How far away are we from the Malik card? We are 75 away from the Malik card giveaway. That's okay. This happens to me, though. Okay. As an LSU fan, we get really hyped over the players that come to our school. Okay. But what I do, in my spare time, and I did this today with AJ Swan, I took my LSU glasses off and I was like, look at this objectively as you possibly could. Look at this if you're a Texas fan or an Oregon fan or just a regular evaluator. And I did that recently with Kaden Durham. I was like trying to poke holes in what he's done. It's like, well, is it because he's got wide open holes to run through? Is it because he's going up against bad competition? And both of those are just not true, right? He's playing in Texas high school football. Competition can get much better than that when you're going up against schools like DeSoto and whatnot. Are the holes just unbelievably wide open for him to run through? Yeah, I mean, their offense is really good, but he does break a lot of tackles. Not like a ton, but part of why he doesn't break a lot of tackles is because he just needs to break one, and the breakaway home run hitting ability is in freaking insane. There has never been a home run hitting back that has come to LSU quite like Kaden Durham. All right. At least since Leonard Fournette, who is obviously the ultimate home run hitter. But, man, the dude just is a house call machine. And I try my best to poke holes. I'm just like, okay, Carter, you see this, you see the stats. He consistently had these 150-yard games, 200-yard games, 3 tutties here, 80-yard run here. Is there any hole? Are you? And I keep coming back. It's like, no. The only thing is he's not the biggest guy. Okay, but you're like, okay, well, how fast is he? 10.29 100-meter dash. Just for reference, Jalen Brown, I think his fastest time per 247 was 10.66. Kaden Durham is 10.2. 10.2. 10.2. SPF, stop pump faking. Now, I will agree. Actually, I will disagree. The pump fake, I think, in basketball is underutilized. Pump fake, man, it normally works, especially if you're actually moving the ball around. So why would you stop the pump fake? As a QB, you shouldn't pump fake too much, though. Can we all agree that Steeples and LSU needs to part ways? I will not agree with that for this reason. Would I like to see LSU bring in new blood, especially in the secondary? Sure. But the issue with that, okay, and I agree, LF7 and guys were special home run hitters. I will say as a home run hitter, Kaden Durham is as good as those guys. The issue is those guys were units, all right? Durham is not the biggest guy, but I mean, it's not like he's tiny, right? He's not like, just for example, Armani Goodwin was small, right? Durham is kind of like Xavier Thomas. I mean, he is a unit, right? But yeah, right now, Kaden Durham is my number one guy in the class. Okay, it's just crazy. Now, could that change? It could. I haven't done my final movement yet. Okay. I'll defend Robert Steeples here to a certain degree. I don't think, especially at defensive back, you're so much what your defensive coordinator is, right? Was it a bold move to go to Robert Steeples? It was, right? As someone who was relatively young, but I understood why they did it. I'm certainly open to some new blood, okay? And I do think Steeples could be the odd man out. But we'll see. We'll see what happens. But I'm not in the meeting room every day. That it's hard to just single out one position group on defense, but the corner room was unequivocally bad. Okay? Billy the Kid, I'll answer this one. What do I think about the portal news? What portal news in particular? You let me know. Okay. Ooh. That's bold, man. Arlen Berry's Jamal Charles. Okay. Okay, when we talk about Ole Miss. Yeah, I touched on them a little bit earlier. Right now, I think they would make the college football playoff next year because they would have made it this year. They got a stacked roster. I mean, they just do. I do wonder this about Lane Kiffin. Okay. He is a very good starter of games, right? Normally his games start off pretty well. But things do begin to fizzle out after those first 15 scheduled plays or the first quarter and a half of play, right? Can he actually get over the hump and beat the elites? Right now, I feel like Ole Miss has maxed out their potential, but with the way that they've been getting into the portal, they can take it to another level. They can. But yeah, my KJ, I would love to see KJ in purple and gold, but I think KJ to South Carolina is possible at this point. But I don't think you should be nervous about Ole Miss. I don't think you should necessarily be nervous about any portal season per se. I will say this. Lane Kiffin was my number 2 candidate for the LSU job. He was. And obviously you could see he's a very special coach. Still happy with Brian Kelly, but I'm not totally shocked that Lane Kiffin has had success. He was 10-2 a few years ago as well. But I wouldn't worry too much about it. We get Ole Miss in a good spot on our schedule next year, which is really good. They'll be on the back end of a back-to-back road game, and that'll be their 7th consecutive game that they played. And we'll be coming off a bye week, and we're getting them at home. So we're going to be in a good spot. We just need to be better defensively. I mean, that's all there is to it. I mean, one Denver Harris tackle when you're up by 9 on a 3rd and 11, you win the game because they're going for it on 4th and 2, 4th and 3, and you had just gotten a stop on 4th and 3. You're winning that football game. Chris Hilton makes the catch. You're winning that football game. Jaden Daniels hits Malik on a simple little rollout, you're probably winning that football game. There's a lot of opportunities for us to close the door, and we just didn't have that killer instinct that day, and it happens. But yeah, I wouldn't necessarily be nervous. I would be a little bit more nervous if the playoff was still at 4, but now that it stretches to 12, you can swallow a few more bullets, right? You can take a few more losses. So we'll be fine. Okay, we'll be fine. Now, this has been a fun live stream, but tomorrow is going to be even more lit. Now, type Y for yes, type N for no. Yeah, Billy the Kid, breathe in, breathe out, man. Have you followed me on Twitter? I got 2 different Twitter accounts, Power Hour LSU and Card of the Power. Pretty straightforward. We are approaching 2,000 followers on Twitter, and I'm not really that good at Twitter. Okay, I'm trying to get to 5,000 before the start of next season. That would go a long way. Okay. Did wanted to share this with you. Garrett Nussmeier and Evan Stewart. Evan Stewart throwing up the L. This is from a few years ago, 2021. That's why you follow me on Twitter. I tweet these things out at Power Hour LSU. Okay. Please go give me a follow. So Danny Girl disagrees. We cannot afford more than 1 loss. No, you can have 2. You can have 2. You gotta think about it this way. There's going to be more room for SEC teams to get in. You know, I don't. You know, with Texas and Oklahoma leaving out of the Big 12, is there really a Big 12 team that can actually make the playoff next year? We'll see. We'll see. Florida State, Clemson. I mean, there's got to be some type of drop-off with Florida State next season. I think there is wiggle room because it's going to be hard for LSU to run the table next year. James, thank goodness playoff was not 12 teams this year. Okay. Just me and there you are at the holiday party. Look at that. It's kind of cool going to a party where I didn't have to do anything at the party except come back and entertain the masses here. All right. We'll see you tomorrow, 6 p.m. Central. James will be there. Jared will be there. Danny Girl will be there. It's going to be a big day. Signing day. Let's go. Yes. Power Hour. LSU. Boom. Shout out. Our top super chatter tonight is the great Doug Knows. Shout out to TJ, Byron, and Jared. I love it, man. Let's go. Let's